Why did Loki kill his father? A comprehensive analysis of the first mystery case created by Oda in the Giant Island arc. Hello, I'm Amy. 14 years ago, it was an ordinary time in One Piece. That year, Corazon decided to take the sick Law to sea to find a doctor. Tom's shipyard completed the Puffing Tom, and Bartholomew Kuma and Ginny became senior members of the Revolutionary Army. That year seemed uneventful until the Elbaph dynasty experienced a bloody case. Loki, known as the Accursed Prince, killed his father Harald to seize the legendary devil fruit that had been passed down through generations in the giant royal family. That day, at the king's castle, Loki and Harald, called the Great Warrior, had a fierce battle. The entire castle showed traces of the fight, including giant claw-like attack marks and even holes punched through the ceiling. Over 100 giant warriors were killed by Loki, with the only survivors being the perpetrator Loki and Elder Jarul of the giant tribe. Note that the above are all the clear clues about Loki killing his father so far in the Giant Island arc. All descriptions come from outsiders, meaning other giants in the village. This raises a question. Is what these outsiders saw the truth? Kuma is called the Tyrant, but was actually a free-spirited warrior who fought for his country. Harald was called a wise king because he loved peace, kindness, and wanted Elbaph to connect with countries around the world. But if we think carefully about Harald's vision for Elbaph to integrate into the world order under Emu's rule, isn't that just joining the world government? Even if Harald didn't want to become a vassal of the world government, the God's Knights wanted to conquer Elbaph. In fact, the world government never gave up on this plan. It's just that the giant tribe was too powerful to easily subdue. But even the strongest fortress has its weakness. 100 years ago, Mother Carmel and the Navy performed a drama rescuing the giant tribe, successfully gaining their trust and infiltrating Elbaph. Then, Carmel became a bridge through which giant warriors began joining the Navy. This was the world government's true purpose. From this event, we can see that although the giant tribe fights strongly, they can sometimes be easily deceived due to their straightforward thinking. Initially, Carmel's mission was very successful until an unexpected incident occurred. The year Charlotte Linlin arrived at Elbaph was also the year Loki was born. Due to her eating disorder outbreak, Linlin destroyed the giant village and killed Elder Jarul. This forced Mother Carmel to take Linlin away from Elbaph. Not long after, Mother Carmel mysteriously disappeared during Linlin's birthday party. After this news reached Elbaph, Linlin was hated by the entire giant tribe. For the world government, there was an even more serious consequence. They lost Mother Carmel, the important giant intermediary, and needed to make new plans to conquer Elbaph. In this context, King Harald's desire for peace and his wish for Elbaph to open up became a new trading opportunity, and the ones conducting this trade were the God's Knights. Saint Summers, who recently appeared, revealed through dialogue that he knew Harald. He taunted whether coming to Elbaph was to visit Harald's grave. This statement could have multiple meanings, perhaps mocking Harald, or perhaps truly considering him a friend. But regardless of perspective, one thing is certain. The God's Knights had connections with Harald before. Some members had visited Elbaph more than 10 years ago. It's just that that operation had failed, and the cause of failure was very likely the Accursed Prince Loki. So that year, how did Harald negotiate with the God's Knights? What did Harald do before the tragedy occurred? First, Harald was a king who didn't align with giant tribe traditions. His peace-oriented attitude contradicted the opinions of the village elders. It's important to know that the giant tribe is a truly warrior race. All of Elbaph is a land of war, where essentially everyone is a warrior. Years ago, when Dory and Brogy had a dispute, they used the sacred duel ritual of the giant tribe to judge right from wrong, believing that God Elbaph would always protect the righteous. This shows that initially, they were a race that worshipped combat and had a warrior's faith. Even Gunko of the God's Knights, when seeing Loki refusing to submit, mocked his beliefs. This kind of resolute will, originally unbreakable, could gradually transform. Harald, to change the violence in Elbaph, even cut off his horns, symbols of his bloodline, to demonstrate his wisdom. 20 years ago, he asked Saul to open the Walrus School to teach knowledge to the younger generation of giants. While this was good in principle, strangely during this process, the children became timid and weak. They not only abandoned fighting, but became very averse to it, disappointing both Luffy and Usopp. When watching this segment, everyone must have felt something was wrong. These children under the new education were no longer reserve warriors. They became peacefully minded as desired, but the most important warrior spirit of Elbaph had been neutered. And according to the mural in the temple, the giant tribe in the past was a powerful ally of Joy Boy. An Elbaph without its fangs and claws would certainly benefit Emu and the world government. The only ones who weren't transformed were the old giant pirates crew of Dory and Brogy, the new giant pirates led by Hadrudin, and the Accursed Prince Loki, who resisted from beginning to end. Here we need to emphasize Gaban's wife and son, Ripley and Cologne. Cologne is a child who, from a young age, mingled with pirates and was acknowledged by Luffy as a giant child who still had spirit. He didn't give up on fighting, even wanted to adventure at sea, and was ostracized by his classmates because of this mindset. His mother, Ripley, while gently scolding his recklessness, praised his fighting spirit, as Ripley was also a member of the giant pirates and hadn't lost the essence of a warrior. So, this is the current problem with Elbaph. The entire country has lost its precious spirit and traditions due to reforms, and because of the murder case between the prince and the king, they cannot select the next king, causing the entire giant tribe to stand still. Loki should have become the king of the giant tribe, but he used an almost destructive way to change the entire situation in Elbaph. Why did he have to do this? Is it as Gerald said, that both Loki and Harald wanted to become the sun god, leading to this result? Now let's formally address the trigger and core of the whole event, the legendary devil fruit passed down through generations in the giant royal family. Loki was the legitimate prince, who would inherit the throne and ownership of this devil fruit in the future. He shouldn't have needed to take the huge risk of confronting his powerful father and the army to steal this devil fruit, but he did. The only reasonable motive is there was a possibility that the giant tribe would lose this legendary devil fruit. Loki realized this, so he had to take it back. Although we still don't know exactly what powers it has, its significance is perhaps not merely that of a devil fruit. Besides possessing powerful strength, it very likely relates to some agreement between the giant tribe and Joy Boy. Similar to the giant ship Noah protected by the Fishmen tribe, in the mural we saw a legendary giant who once fought alongside Joy Boy. This devil fruit is precisely a promise. Only on the promised day will it fulfill its true purpose. Losing this devil fruit would cause problems with the agreement between the giant tribe and the sun god. But each person in the giant tribe has a different understanding of the sun god. Some believe he will bring liberation, others believe he will bring destruction. Harald, who worshipped peace, would naturally be wary of a sun god bringing destruction. To avoid this outcome, he carefully preserved that devil fruit, neither choosing to eat it himself, nor daring to let Prince Loki, who daily proclaimed world destruction, obtain it. I think Harald wasn't simply a bad person, nor can he be simply summarized as a wise king. He wanted to open a path of peace, fulfilling a 1,000-year-old dream of the giant tribe. Elbaph is the kingdom waiting for the sun. Everyone has their own understanding of the sun god, and Harald believed the sun god should represent peace. While he was thinking about how to integrate Elbaph with the world and eliminate people's fear of the giant tribe, the god's knights appeared. Because after Mother Carmel's disappearance, the world government lost an important spy, and to continue obtaining the giant tribe's power, the god's knights this time directly traded with Harald, exchanging the legendary devil fruit for Elbaph to become an allied nation of the world government, allowing Elbaph to achieve so-called peace. As for Loki, being the prince, along with the giant elders, he had different views from Harald. They persisted with the warrior tradition. Only fighting was the way of Elbaph. The conflict between the two factions, fighting and peace, erupted over the ownership of the devil fruit. 14 years ago, that day, it's very likely that Loki discovered Harald's true plan, went to the palace to seize the legendary devil fruit, while the god's knights secretly intervened in this dispute. It's speculated that the negotiator with Harald at that time was very likely the supreme commander of the god's knights, Saint Garling, accompanied by Saint Summers. This also explains why there was a 5-pointed star used for teleportation by the gods' knights in front of the throne. It was a trace left from that year, later directly used by Shamrock and Gunko. St. Garling and St. Summers' plan was to steal this devil fruit and then eliminate the giant forces threatening the world government, completely conquering Elbaph. Their targets included Loki, Elder Jarul, and members of the old giant pirates crew. That day, when Loki tried to charge into the king's chamber, St. Summers secretly used his ability, controlling the fears of the palace warriors, turning them into powerful monsters that engaged in a fierce battle with Loki. That's why we see claw-like marks on the walls. Faced with hundreds of monsters, Loki and Harald temporarily set aside their differences, father and son joining forces trying to escape. Harald was severely injured, finally realizing that the peace he wanted couldn't be achieved through compromise. In the end, Harald gave the devil fruit to Loki, supporting him as he ran out of the castle to the village for reinforcements. However, the villagers were all suspicious of Loki, thinking it was another cruel prank. By the time people discovered something was wrong and went to the castle to check, the royal guards had all been killed, Harald was also dead on the throne, and only Elder Jarul had survived, becoming the sole witness. Looking closely at the sword above Jarul's head, the hilt looks very similar to Harald's sword. Why did Harald stab Jarul? It was likely due to being wounded by mistake in the chaos, but thanks to this, the fear influence in Jarul's mind was erased. The lucky hat also blocked some injuries, helping the old man survive, a classic One Piece style of humor. However, due to the head injury, after falling unconscious, Jarul lost part of his memory. When rescued and revived by other giants, he couldn't remember the process of the case, only the beginning of that day's events. Loki charged into the palace, wanting to steal the devil fruit. Although this was true, it omitted important causes, making the entire event appear in black and white. As for Loki, as the other survivor, combined with his long-standing bad reputation, he became the perfect criminal. In the eyes of other giants, Loki had sufficient motive to steal the devil fruit and also had a bad enough impression. Hated by everyone in the giant tribe since childhood, a accursed prince who had done many bad things, repeatedly endangering the villagers' lives, so causing this tragedy seemed reasonable. In fact, thinking about the reputation of characters in One Piece, many times they go against the truth. The news slandering Luffy by Morgans needs no mention. Many members of the Straw Hat group initially had very ordinary reputations, such as Zoro being called the demon in human skin, Chopper being a hated monster, Frankie being a hoodlum in the city. Oda really likes and is very good at creating drama for character stories through this contrast, and Loki seems to apply this formula as well. On one side is the giant tribe's hatred toward him, on the other is Luffy's instinctive friendliness with Loki. Loki and his animal friends are similar to the animal friends Luffy made on Rusukaina Island years ago. Luffy is the protagonist. Oda certainly wouldn't push Luffy into fire, arranging a dark past for him such as causing a disaster. Therefore, Luffy's actions to some extent prove that Loki's nature isn't bad. So why doesn't Loki tell the truth to his tribe? Perhaps he has tried to explain, but no one believes him, similar to Usopp's experience years ago, repeating the boy who cried wolf story. Finally, for committing such a serious crime, Loki was hunted by all of Elbaph. He could only leave his homeland, go to sea as a pirate, and search for the truth of that year's case. As for the real culprits, the gods' knights, although they had significantly weakened the threat of Elbaph, they left behind a powerful potential enemy, Loki. Wary of Loki's power, they placed a special bounty of 2.6 billion berries on him. A special bounty means that besides strength, the individual has some special element that threatens the world government. Just like Robin at 8 years old with a 79 million berry bounty, that legendary devil fruit is perhaps similar to the Nika fruit, having some special historical foundation that could threaten Imu's rule. Loki perhaps used the name of the sun god who destroys the world to cause trouble at sea. His friend who talks to him via the snail phone, Mosapark, is probably a friend he met at sea. And the next important milestone is 6 years ago, 8 years after Loki committed his crime, when Shanks defeated Loki but didn't hand him over to the Navy, nor did he abandon him, but brought him back to Elbaph. Why did Shanks want to capture Loki and bring him back? Why did Loki curse Shanks as a coward? There must be a reason for this. Previously, Shanks didn't want to compete for One Piece. He only wanted to maintain the balance of world powers, and Loki and his power could break this balance. It wasn't the right time yet. 6 years ago, Shanks defeated Loki, which very likely made Shanks one of the 4 emperors. But Shanks's true purpose was to prevent Loki from losing control, similar to how he went to stop Whitebeard and made Ace stop pursuing Blackbeard. Shanks's position in the story often resembles that of a true pacifist. But a compassionate person can't have such powerful conquerors' haki. Shanks was truly perhaps waiting for the person Roger was waiting for to appear. Until Luffy defeated Kaido, he confirmed that Luffy was the person Roger was waiting for, and only then did he truly begin to act, striking by defeating Kid with a bounty of 3 billion. Loki was brought back to Elbaph and imprisoned. It was a punishment, but could also be a form of protection. In Elbaph, where outsiders could hardly trespass, Loki had no freedom but also avoided the covetousness of other powers. Perhaps at that time, even Shanks hadn't figured out how to deal with Loki. And Luffy's appearance brought a new possibility. According to the revelation in the mural of the Elbaph Temple, in the past, there was a legendary giant who fought alongside Joy Boy against powerful enemies. The posture of this giant and Loki's standing posture, if not identical, are at least very similar. The era is changing, will is being inherited, and power is also reincarnating. In the third world, Luffy has awakened the power of Nika, becoming the Joy Boy of this era, and Loki is very likely the legendary giant of this era. He will once again stand alongside the Sun God, overthrowing Imu's world. Of course, before that, Luffy still has to conquer Loki, resolve the misunderstanding between Loki and the giant tribe, and overcome the crisis that Elbaph is currently facing. Above is a comprehensive analysis of the Loki case in One Piece. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm Amy. See you in the next videos.